The desert wind howled across the red dunes of Cordaxis 9, a forgotten planet in the outer rim. Heat shimmered off the rocks, and fine grains of rust-colored sand swirled in the air. Alone on the cracked ground knelt a human soldier, one knee, pressing into the dry earth. His armor was heavy, advanced, glowing slightly at the core with a pulsing light. The rest of the battlefield was silent. Too silent. His name was Riker. No rank. No medals. Just a man. The last survivor of a unit that had walked into a trap. His ship had been shot down, his team lost in the crash or hunted afterward. Now he waited, still as stone, his breathing slow and focused, sensors in his helmet flickered to life. Targets 10 direction surrounding threat level maximum. He didn't move. Not yet. The suit would respond the moment it had to. It always did. That's why he was still alive. From the ridges and shadows, figures appeared. Fast, agile, thin and strong, with glowing blue skin and armor made of bone and flexible metals. All 10 of them female, all dressed like tribal warriors with war paint across their faces and sharp blades strapped across their hips and backs. Marauders. They were known across this part of the galaxy. Fierce, wild, and deadly. These weren't soldiers, they were hunters. And he was the prey. One of them screamed a war cry as she leapt from a ledge. The others followed like shadows in motion. Sand exploded around Riker as they landed in a tight circle. They didn't speak. They didn't offer a warning. The first blade scraped across his shoulder plate, trying to cut through the armored joints. Another aimed for his helmet. A third tried to pry open the chest panel. He remained still. The suit's voice spoke into his ear. Calm. Cold. Attempting. Armor breach. Lethal force authorized. Then Riker moved. His fist shot up, connecting with the stomach of the closest attacker. She flew back into the sand, skidding with a pained shout. The rest reacted quickly, circling, slashing, flipping, through the air. But the suit adapted faster. A glowing shield activated over his back as 2 blades struck. Sparks flew. One girl screamed. Her blade shattered. Riker twisted, caught her arm, and spun her into another attacker. Dust exploded as bodies hit the ground. Still 7 remained. He didn't want to kill them. That wasn't the mission. He had no orders anymore, but some habits were hard to break. Even if these girls were killers, he didn't want to take lives if it could be avoided. But they didn't stop. One grabbed onto his back, trying to rip the energy core from his chest. Another climbed his arm, stabbing between the armor plates. The suit flexed and locked down. Pain threshold exceeded. Power mode. Engaged. Light exploded outward from the center of his chest, throwing 3 of the girls backward. Their bodies tumbled across the dirt, groaning. He turned quickly, catching a spear midair and snapping it in 2. Now only 4 remained, moving slower, warier. Their confidence was cracking. One looked him in the eyes. She was younger than he expected. Her lip was bleeding, and her hands trembled slightly. But her eyes held something different now. Not hate, not fury, fear. Riker stood tall, his armor humming with energy. His voice was low but firm. "You're not going to win this. Walk away." She didn't answer. None of them did. But slowly they began to back off, helping their sisters to their feet. For now, the fight was over. Riker looked up at the sky. A signal beacon blinked weakly from his belt. Still no pickup, no help coming. Just him, 10 defeated alien girls, and a planet full of danger. He took a deep breath. It was going to be a long day. The silence after the fight was sharp. Riker stood among the scattered dust clouds, his breathing heavy inside the helmet. The glow from his armor dimmed as the system powered down to normal mode. Around him, the 10 alien girls began to recover, slowly rising from the sand. Some were limping, others holding their arms or shoulders, but they were alive. That was what mattered. He didn't run. He didn't raise his fists again. He just watched them, quiet, and ready. One of them stepped forward. Her blue skin was marked with ash and blood, and her shoulder armor hung cracked. She looked young but carried herself like a leader. Her sharp black eyes studied Riker's face through the visor. "You fight like a war god," she said, her voice low and filled with a strange mix of anger and respect. Riker didn't reply. Another girl limped toward her, whispering in their native tongue. Riker's translator picked up only parts. Wrong target. Not what they said, and not just human. Then he understood. They hadn't attacked out of random rage. Someone had sent them, paid them, lied to them. "Who told you I was an enemy?" Riker asked. The leader girl narrowed her eyes. "You wear the armor of the Red Sun Legion. They destroyed our village years ago." "I'm not with them anymore," Riker said. "I left the Legion." Why would a human leave power? Because power without truth becomes rot. The girl didn't answer. Her people were breathing hard behind her, some still eyeing Riker's armor, unsure if the fight was really done. Then one of them spoke in a softer voice. "We could not break his shell. We failed." Riker's armor adjusted slightly, revealing some damage near the waist, a hint of blood trickling behind the joint. He winced, but said nothing. He didn't want them to know he was hurt. The leader girl walked forward, stopping just a few feet from him. "What is your name, human?" "Riker." She paused. "I am Kelza. My sisters and I, we are no longer warriors of the Fang tribe. We were cast out after refusing to burn the sick. We became Marauders. We survived by raids. You were meant to be a simple mark. Someone paid us to take you down." "Who?" Riker asked. Kelza's lips tightened. "We never meet them. Only credits and coordinates." Riker glanced at the sky. The sun was climbing. His signal beacon blinked again, weak, barely working. No one was coming for him. And now it seemed, someone wanted him dead badly enough to hire 10 dangerous alien girls to rip him apart. He looked at them again. Despite the dirt, blood, and broken weapons, they didn't seem like monsters. They seemed like fighters, survivors, just like him. "You still going to try and finish the job?" he asked calmly. Kelza lowered her blade. "No. If you wanted us dead, we would not be standing." Another voice called out from the group. "Maybe we chose the wrong side." Riker exhaled slowly. For the first time in hours, he allowed himself to relax. His suit began sealing the cracked joint, administering pain relief. "Then we need to move," he said. "Whoever sent you might send more." Kelza tilted her head. "You want us to travel with you?" Riker looked across the dunes. "I don't care who comes with me, but I won't survive long alone, and neither will you. We find shelter. Together." Kelza looked back at her girls. They nodded, some hesitantly, others firmly. "Then we walk," she said. And so they did. 10 alien girls and 1 human in broken armor marching into the desert, uncertain what waited beyond the next dune, but no longer enemies. The heat of the desert grew stronger with every step. Sand shifted under their boots and the wind burned like fire across their skin. Riker walked slightly ahead, his armor humming softly, scanning for threats. Behind him, the 10 alien girls followed, spread out like a loose hunting formation. Though they had tried to kill him hours ago, now they stayed close, moving together. Kelza, the leader, walked beside him. "You walk like a soldier," she said. "Even when you're not." "One." Riker didn't look at her. "Some habits don't die." She nodded. "And your armor, it heals itself?" "To a point. The suit's smart, but it can't fix everything." She looked at the cracked metal near his ribs. "It bleeds like you." "I bleed like any human," he replied. They kept walking. One of the younger girls, light on her feet and curious-eyed, caught up to them. Her name was Thari. She carried 2 curved knives at her sides and moved like a dancer. She kept glancing at Riker's armor with fascination. "What's that light in your chest?" she asked. Riker tapped it gently. Fusion core. Powers everything. If I touch it, will it explode? Only if you try to pull it out, Riker said with a dry smile. She giggled and ran ahead, kicking sand into the air. Kelza watched her, a faint smile on her lips. She was born during fire raids, never saw peace, always running. Riker's voice lowered. Then we find her a place where she can stop running. As the group moved across a wide, flat plain, the sand thinned and gave way to sharp black stones. The sun had moved west, and the sky burned orange. Suddenly, Riker raised his hand. Stop. The girls froze. The suit had detected something. Movement ahead. Riker zoomed in with his helmet's lens. A metal structure sat half buried in the ground, covered in sand and vines. Antennas were snapped. One door hung open. A crash site, he said. Kelza squinted. Yours? No, too old. He approached carefully. The air was still. Dust clung to the metal. As he reached the entrance, he saw signs of a struggle, burn marks, dried blood, cracked hull panels. Inside were broken crates, shattered weapons, and a long dead body slumped in the corner. Smugglers, he said quietly. Thari stepped in beside him, her eyes wide. There's food here. And there was. Sealed packets of rations, still good. The girls gathered around, opening the packs with trembling hands. Even warriors needed to eat. Riker stood at the door watching the horizon. He didn't eat. He waited. That's when the suit whispered in his ear. Multiple thermal signatures. Distance 900 meters, closing fast. He turned sharply. Kelza, we've got company. She dropped her food instantly and barked something in her language. The girls took cover, some climbing onto the top of the wreck for a better view. Soon, dark shapes appeared through the sand haze, 4 armored vehicles rolling low and silent with mounted cannons and open gun platforms. Raiders. Kelza cursed under her breath. They must have followed the signal. Riker stepped forward and activated the fusion shield around his arms. The air shimmered. His eyes narrowed. They're not here to talk. The girls drew weapons. Thari spun her knives, another readied a long spear. Even after a day without rest, they stood tall side by side with the man they once tried to kill. Riker's voice was calm, but sharp. We hold them here. We don't run. Kelza nodded. Then today, they bleed. And as the sun fell behind, the hills fire-lit the desert once again. The first shot came from the left, slamming into the side of the wrecked ship with a loud crash. Metal exploded, sending sparks and smoke into the air. The girls dropped to the ground, but Riker stood still. His armor lit up again, shifting plates and glowing with energy. The suit adjusted for battle. 4 vehicles, at least 20 raiders, light armor, heavy guns, the suit reported. Kelza crouched behind a rusted crate. We can't take on that many. We can, Riker replied, but we have to be smart. Thari crawled to his side. What do? Trap them, he said, and strike fast. The girls moved quickly under Kelza's sharp commands. They scattered across the crash site, hiding behind broken parts and hills of sand. Riker knelt near the entrance and pulled a small device from his belt. He pushed it into the ground. Explosive mine armed, the suit confirmed. The enemy came, closer. Dust clouds rose as the armored trucks rolled over the rocks. Shadows of armed figures stood in the open platforms, holding pulse rifles and chain guns. Their armor was worn, but brutal. Skulls painted on their helmets. They weren't here to take prisoners, one of them shouted. Give us the human! Walk away and we won't kill you. Kelza stood up slowly. Come and take him yourself. They opened fire. Laser bolts ripped through the air. The wreckage lit up in flashes of red and orange. 2 girls rolled away behind cover. One jumped, down from the ship's roof, spinning midair and throwing a sharp disc that struck one of the raiders in the neck. He fell. Riker didn't wait. He sprinted forward, straight into the gunfire. His shield flared as bullets hit it. Then he reached the mine. A few more steps and he dove. Now! He shouted. The mine exploded with a bright blue flash, flipping the lead vehicle into the air, The raiders on board screamed as metal burned and twisted. The blast shook the ground. The other vehicles swerved, trying to back away. Kelsa's girls charged, fast, wild, and screaming in their language. They struck like lightning. Blades flashed. Spears slammed into tires. One girl jumped onto a raider's back, dragging him. Down. Thari sliced the knees of another, dropping him with speed and silence. Riker reached the second vehicle, grabbed the side, and tore open the door. He pulled the driver out and slammed him against the side, knocking him out cold. A raider swung a club at his head. Riker blocked with his forearm, then struck with a punch that cracked armor. Blood spilled. One of the girls was knocked down, a cut on her leg, but two others pulled her away and covered her. They fought as a unit now. Not as enemies, not as strangers. As a team, Riker pushed forward. The third vehicle was trying to escape. He ran after it. The suit boosted his speed. He leapt, landed on the back, and ripped the gun mount apart. Inside, the driver turned with wide eyes. Riker looked at him, then knocked him out with one hit. By the time the dust settled, the battlefield was quiet again. Bodies lay scattered, some groaning, some silent. The last vehicle was smoking, half buried in the sand. Kelsa stood tall on top of the wreck, her blade dripping. She raised her arm. We won. The girls cheered, but Riker didn't celebrate. He walked through the wreckage, checking each enemy. One was alive, coughing. Riker knelt beside him. "Who sent you?" he asked. The raider's eyes were filled with fear. He coughed again. "We were paid. Said you had something inside your armor. A code, a map." Riker stared at him. "By who?" But the man's eyes rolled back. He was gone. Riker stood slowly. The girls gathered around him. "What now?" Kelsa asked. Riker looked to the horizon. "Now we find out who wants me dead? And why?" Night fell over the desert, cold and silent. The wind howled across the rocks and stars stretched endlessly above. The wreckage of the battle was now quiet. Fires still burned low near the destroyed vehicles, casting orange light on the sand. The smell of smoke and dust hung in the air. Riker sat on a broken panel near the edge of the wreck, armor dented, the glow from his chest core soft and steady. His helmet was off now, resting beside him. His face was rough and tired, eyes fixed. On the darkness ahead, Kelsa sat across from him, cleaning a blade with cloth torn from a raider's armor. "That man," she said quietly. "He said there's something in your suit, a code?" Riker nodded slowly. "I didn't know." "You wear it and you didn't know?" "This suit wasn't made for me. It belonged to someone else. A long time ago." Kelsa's eyes narrowed. "A legend? Not quite. Just a dead man." He leaned back against the ship wall, his gaze still on the stars. The suit had started talking again after the battle. Strange words, glitches in the system. A name had appeared, one he hadn't seen before. Directive. Locate coordinates. Project Valor protocol. Active. Riker didn't understand what it meant, but now he knew someone wanted that data inside the armor badly enough to send mercenaries, pay off Marauders, and track him across worlds. Thari approached with a wrapped bandage on her arm. I checked the raiders' gear. One of them had a map. It showed a route north, toward the cliffs. Kelsa stood. "A base? Maybe," Riker said. "Maybe the one who sent them is still there." The group gathered around. The girls were tired, bruised, but their eyes were sharp. They didn't look like raiders anymore. They looked like a unit. "We go at sunrise," Riker said. "But we need to prepare. This time we don't wait to be attacked." One of the older girls, Nisha, stepped forward. She was quiet, often staying at the edge, but now her voice was steady. "I can set traps. I learned from desert spiders." Kelsa nodded. "Do it." Another girl lifted a broken gun from the wreck. "We can fix this. Use it." "Good," Riker said. "Make it fast." They worked under the stars, gathering scraps, sharpening weapons, planting small mines in the sand. The wreck became a temporary camp and each girl moved with purpose. Riker took a moment alone, walking to the edge of the dunes. The cool wind pressed against his face. "Suit," he whispered. "Show me the data," the armor responded. "Encrypted core. Coordinates protected. Unlock requires voice signature. General Corin Vale." That name hit him like a blow. Corin Vale. His former commander. The man who led the Red Sun Legion. The same man Riker had once followed without question, until the day the Legion turned on its own. Riker closed his eyes. "He's dead." The suit was silent. Behind him, Thari appeared, carrying a bottle of water. "You look lost." "Maybe I am. But you fight like someone who knows where he's going." He smiled faintly. "Do I?" She sat beside him. "You're not like other humans. You didn't kill us even when you could." "Does that make me weak?" "No, it makes you different. That's why we're still here." Riker looked at the stars. "Tomorrow we find out what's hidden in this suit, and if someone wants it badly enough to kill for it, then we better be ready." The wind blew harder. The desert never slept, but neither did the ones who now walked with him. The sun rose over Cordaxis 9 like a red blade, sharp and merciless. The cold of night vanished quickly as heat returned to the desert. Riker and the girls stood ready at the edge of the dunes, facing the jagged cliffs in the distance. No one spoke. Each of them carried weapons, some salvaged from the raiders, others sharpened by hand. Riker's armor had repaired slightly overnight, though the crack still showed. His energy core pulsed low but steady. He tightened the straps across his arms and looked toward the horizon. "Move fast. Stay low. If there's a base, it'll be hidden in the rock." Kelza moved beside him. "We follow your lead, Riker." That was new. A marauder trusting a human. But the way she said it carried weight. Not like a soldier obeying orders, but like a warrior choosing to stand beside him. They moved quickly across the sand. Heat shimmered off the rocks. The ground became rougher, and the cliffs loomed larger with each step. Shadows stretched along the base of the mountains. As they neared, Riker slowed and raised his hand. "Something's wrong," he said. Kelza looked around. No guards. No patrols. Exactly. They moved carefully between the rocks. Then Thari pointed ahead. A narrow entrance, half covered, with old vines and faded symbols led into the cliffs. Riker scanned it. "It's a bunker. Military. Hidden on purpose," Kelza whispered to the others. They circled the entrance, watching for traps. Riker approached the door and placed his hand on a scanner panel. It lit up. Genetic match detected. Authorization. Partial. Access granted. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside, the air was cold and stale. The light flickered. Dust covered the floor. They stepped in slowly, the steel walls echoing their footsteps. "Old tech," Riker muttered. "This base hasn't been touched in years." They passed broken lights, empty crates, and rusted control panels. Then they reached a room that still had power. A central console blinked softly, covered in dust. Riker wiped it clean and tapped the screen. "Welcome, General Corin Vale." The girls looked at him. "I'm not him," Riker said, "but this suit must be carrying his signature." A map appeared on the screen, several systems, glowing red and gold. A large mark hovered over a planet far away, with one word beneath. It Project Valor. Kelza stepped closer. "What is that?" "I don't know," Riker said. "But the Legion does, and they're trying to get to it." Another voice echoed from behind them. "They already have." Everyone spun around. Weapons drawn. At the door stood a figure in black armor, thinner than Riker's but built for speed. The helmet opened, revealing a sharp face, another human, pale skin, cold eyes, a scar over his right brow. "Lieutenant Harrow," Riker said. The man smiled. "Still alive, old friend?" "I'm not your friend." Harrow walked forward slowly. "You were never supposed to find this place. That armor was meant to die with the others. But now you've led us right to the coordinates." Kelza raised her blade. "You sent the raiders." "And the Marauders," Harrow said, glancing at her. "I told them a story. They followed it. But you're a surprise." Riker stood. between Harrow and the console. "You're not taking the data." Harrow tilted his head. "You think you can stop me with these girls?" Riker didn't answer. He just raised his arm. The suit lit up. Target locked. Power level, 84%. Kelza's. Girls spread out ready for the fight. Harrow laughed softly. "Then let's finish this." Harrow moved like lightning. Before anyone could speak, he raised a sleek black weapon and fired. The pulse beam slammed into the control panel beside Riker, sparks bursting across the room. The map vanished in a flash. Thari screamed and rolled. For cover, her knives drawn. Riker charged. His armor surged with energy, and he crashed into Harrow like a meteor. The impact threw both of them into the metal wall. Harrow recovered quickly, kicking Riker back and pulling a short blade from his wrist. The blade hummed with blue light. "I trained you," Harrow growled. "You don't stand a chance." "You trained me wrong," Riker said, blocking the next strike with his forearm. Sparks flew. Kelza and her girls moved to flank, but Harrow tossed a small device into the air. It exploded with a loud crack, blinding light filling the hallway. The girls fell back, coughing, eyes burning. "Stun flash!" Nisha shouted. "We can't see." Harrow used the chaos. He spun behind Riker, kicked his knee, and drove the energy blade into the armor's back. The suit hissed and threw off heat. Riker dropped to one knee, growling through clenched teeth. "Warning, core integrity compromised," the suit said. Kelza recovered first. She leapt forward, slashing low. Harrow twisted away, but the blade scraped his side. He snarled and kicked her backward, sending her into the console. Thari ran straight at him next, yelling something in her native tongue. She feinted left, then jumped, her knives flashing. Harrow caught her mid-air, but she stabbed into his shoulder. Blood sprayed. He roared, slammed her to the ground, and raised his weapon again. Riker stood. His chest core glowed white now, overheating, but holding. He slammed his foot down and tackled Harrow from behind. Both men crashed through the hallway, metal walls bending under their weight. Harrow tried to roll free, but Riker locked his arm and twisted. Snap! Harrow screamed as the blade fell from his hand. Riker struck once, then twice. Blood ran down his knuckles, his armor hissed and sparked. But he didn't stop. Kelza limped after them, weapon drawn. "Riker." He paused, breathing hard. Harrow was still alive, barely. His face was swollen, his arm broken, but he smiled. "You can't stop what's coming," he whispered. "They already know." Riker leaned in. "Who?" Harrow coughed. "The Legion. Project Valor. They're not just after coordinates. They want what's buried, and you're the last key." Riker's face hardened. Not anymore. He pressed a small switch on his gauntlet. Initiate data wipe. Code, null echo. "Are you sure?" the suit asked. "Yes." The suit pulsed. Data. Core purged. Location erased. Armor reset in 60 seconds. Riker stood and stepped back. Kelza arrived and looked at Harrow. "He dies now?" she asked. Riker shook his head. "He's finished. No more secrets to chase." The bunker lights dimmed. The girls helped each other up. Thari was limping, but alive. Nisha had a burn across her arm. The rest were bruised and bleeding. But they were standing. Riker looked at them. "You don't have to stay," he said. "What I had inside me, it's gone. No one will come after me now." Kelza wiped blood from her cheek. "We didn't stay because of what's in your suit. We stayed because of you." Riker lowered his head. The weight on his shoulders had shifted. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He wasn't a target. He was something else. And he wasn't alone. They left the bunker before sunrise. The girls carried what supplies they could. Riker led them out first, his armor still glowing faintly from the data wipe. The suit no longer whispered secrets or warnings. It was quiet now, just metal and light. For the first time in a long while, Riker felt free. They walked across the desert in silence. Kelza walked beside him. Her shoulder was wrapped in cloth. Her blade chipped but still sharp. She watched the sun rise over the dunes, her voice low. "You could have kept the data. Sold it. Bought a life somewhere far from this place. I've seen what power like that does to people, Riker replied. It destroys more than it saves. You think peace is possible? Riker looked at her, then at the girls walking behind them. Thari was laughing with two others, her limp barely noticeable now. Nisha was carrying water for the youngest, who still struggled in the heat. With them? He said. Maybe. They stopped at an old stone ruin by midday, broken walls and pillars half buried in sand. It offered shade, shelter, and quiet. They rested there. Kelza sat with her sisters repairing armor pieces. Riker stood on a ledge looking far across the land. Then something moved in the sky. A flicker, a glint. A shadow passed across the sun. He narrowed his eyes. It was a ship, small, fast, moving low. Not Legion, not Raiders. He dropped down and moved. Quickly, everyone up, he said. We've got visitors. Kelza stood. Enemy? I don't think so, but I'm not taking chances. The ship landed just over the hill. Its engines whined softly, then went quiet. A ramp lowered. Dust swirled. A woman stepped out. She wore dark pilot gear and no weapons. Her hair was tied back, her skin tanned, by suns from many worlds. She held up her hands as Riker approached. You're Riker, right? He didn't answer. I'm not here to fight, she said. I came because of the signal. The old code. Riker's jaw tightened. That signal was erased. It doesn't matter. The galaxy heard it before you killed it. Everyone's looking for you now. Kelza joined him. Who are you? The woman smiled slightly. Name's Lyra. I run with a small crew. Smugglers, ex-soldiers, people like you. When we saw that someone had accessed General Vale's vault, we came to see if it was true. Riker watched her closely. And now? She looked at the girls behind him. I didn't come for war. I came to offer a deal. What kind? You've got fighters, brave ones, the kind this galaxy needs. I've got a ship, contacts, and places where the Legion's hands don't reach. If you're done hiding, maybe it's time you start doing more than just surviving. Riker didn't answer right away. The girls were listening, some curious, some unsure. Thari stepped forward. We follow Riker, she said. Lyra nodded. Then I'm not asking you to change that, just offering you a choice. Riker looked at Kelza. You trust her? He asked. No, Kelza said, but I trust you. He turned back to Lyra. You help us get off this planet and you don't betray us, we move together. She smiled. Deal. The sun was high now. The desert burned below. But something had shifted. A new road had opened. Riker turned to the girls, pack your things, we fly soon. For the first time since the crash, hope rose with the wind. The ship lifted off from the desert floor, its engines humming low beneath the sand-blasted wings. Inside the cargo hold, Riker sat on a steel bench beside Kelza, watching the dunes fall away through a narrow window. Cordaxis 9 shrank beneath them, just another broken world fading into the distance. Thari stood nearby, eyes wide as she explored the inside of a real starship for the first time. The other girls were spread out, some sitting against the walls, others inspecting weapons or talking softly. They didn't look like Marauders anymore. They looked like something else. Survivors. Fighters. A crew. Lyra entered from the cockpit, wiping sweat from her brow. We've got a short flight, she said, then a jump point. After that, a quiet system with a safe house, no Legion eyes there. Riker nodded. And after? That depends on what you want to do next. He didn't answer yet. Kelza leaned toward him, voice low. You're thinking, again. I always think before war. We already fought one, and another one might be coming. She looked at him carefully. Because of what was in your armor? Because of who I used to be. Riker stood and walked toward the small armory near the rear of the ship. The lights flickered softly as he opened a case and pulled out a data module. It was old, burnt at one end but still intact. He stared at it. He had lied. Not all of the Project Valor data had been destroyed. The suit had protected a small fragment, hidden deep in a locked vault. It wasn't a weapon. It was something else. Coordinates, yes, but not to a battle station or secret weapon lab. It led to a location in deep space marked only with one symbol. A ring. Riker didn't know what it meant. But the moment he saw it, the suit whispered again. Last refuge, final defense. He closed the case quietly. If Lyra knew about it, or if the Legion got close, there would be no stopping the war that followed. Kelsa stepped in behind him. "You're not going to keep it secret forever," she said. "I know, but I don't know what it leads to. I won't risk your lives until I understand it." "Too late for that," she replied. "We already follow you." He looked into her eyes. Strong, steady, no fear. The door to the cockpit opened again. "Lyra," called out, "we've got trouble." Riker moved fast. "What is it?" "Ship's being scanned. Unknown signature. Not Legion, but close." The crew rushed to the front. Outside the cockpit window, a strange shape hung in the darkness, long and sleek like a blade. It wasn't marked, but it moved like it knew them. Slowly. Watching. "Is it tracking us?" Thari asked. "It's not attacking," Lyra said. "But it's not leaving either." Riker narrowed his eyes. "They want to see where we go." "We change course?" Kelsa asked. "No," he said. "We go to the safe house. Let them follow." "Why?" "Because I want to see who's hiding behind that ship. And if they want to fight." He turned and reached for his chest plate. "Then this time, we choose where it happens." The girls stood beside him, silent but ready. The ship jumped. Stars stretched into lines, and in the dark beyond, something followed. The jump ended in a quiet part of space, an unmarked sector surrounded by shattered moons and a dying star. A small station floated near an asteroid field, its lights flickering like an old memory. Lyra slowed the ship and brought them in silently. "This place is off every chart," she said. "No patrols, no trade routes, just dust and shadows." "Perfect," Riker replied. They docked carefully. Riker stepped out first, followed by Kelsa and the others. The station was cold and empty, but the systems were still running. Old defenses powered down as the ship's ID was accepted. Lyra had clearly used this place before. They made camp in the central chamber. It was quiet. Too quiet. Riker sat at a console and stared at the data fragment again. The ring symbol glowed on the screen. He could feel something behind it. Not danger, something older. Purpose. Kelsa approached, her voice softer than before. "You still don't know what's there, do you?" "No. But whatever it is, they're afraid of it." Thari leaned against the wall nearby. "Then we should find it." "Why?" "Because if they fear it, maybe it can help others, not just us." Nisha nodded. "We ran for years, always hiding, always surviving. Maybe now we stop hiding." Riker looked at all of them. 10 alien girls, once his enemies, now standing like warriors beside him. Not mercenaries, not thieves. A crew. He took a breath. Then the alarm sounded. "Unidentified ship approaching," the station said. No response to hails. Lyra ran to the window. "It's the same ship that followed us." Outside, the sleek black vessel hovered, then slowly lowered itself into dock. Its side opened, but no soldiers stepped out. Just one man. He walked alone, wearing an old coat and no armor. His hair was white, his face tired, but Riker knew him at once. "Corin Vale," he whispered. The girls looked at him in shock. "But he's dead," Kelsa said. "No," Riker said, standing. "He vanished, left us behind." Corin entered the chamber calmly. His eyes scanned the girls, then settled on Riker. "I trained you well," he said. Riker's fists tightened. "You lied to us. You built Project Valor. Then you disappeared. When the killing started, I had to," Corin said. Because it wasn't just a weapon, it was a choice. Riker didn't speak. Corin walked slowly to the console and touched the ring symbol. It's not a base, he said. It's a gate. To a vault beyond the edge of space. A place that holds the last records of Earth's true history. Before the Legion, before the fall. The room was silent. Corin looked at Riker. I tried to protect it, but I was weak. You're not. Why now? Riker asked. Because they know it exists, and they'll burn every world to find it. Riker stepped forward. Then we stopped them. You're just one man, Corin said. Riker looked back at the girls. Kelza stood tall. Thari had her blades ready. Nisha nodded once. No, Riker said. I'm not. Corin smiled. Then, maybe the galaxy still has a chance. Riker turned to the console and entered the final command. The station's lights flickered. A signal pulsed into the void. Far away in the black, something awoke. A path opened. The ring lit up on the screen, spinning with light. Kelza stepped beside him. What happens now? Riker looked at her, then at the others. Now we stop running. The door to the vault opened, and they stepped into legend, not as hunted warriors or broken soldiers, but as the first of something new.